With its tropical climate, natural beauty, and traditional culture, Thailand has long been a popular tourist destination. But now there's another reason drawing people here: a quiet revolution in caring for the elderly.
The care system for elderly people in Europe is not working anymore, and it's going to be a big problem.
In the West, horror stories of abuse and neglect in care homes, not to mention rising costs, are driving families to look for alternatives, forcing many to make difficult decisions.
I got even letters from school friends of my wife telling me I'm an idiot to bring her, to dispose her here.
And turn your body.
101 East follows those who send their loved ones across the world for their final years. It's been a year since Walter Glur saw his wife Maya. He and his daughter Tanya have flown more than 13 hours from their home in Switzerland to see her. But it's a bittersweet reunion. Maya is not sure who they are.
Maya, look, who is this? So.
This is Priska.
Tanya. Tanya?
Yeah.
Wo is Tanya? Wo is Tanya? Maya, look. Wo is Tanya? Look up.
Maya was just 50 and running a Michelin-starred restaurant with her husband when she was diagnosed with Alzheimer's 9 years ago. It was devastating for the family.
She knew what's coming, and she was crying every morning, you know. And one morning I remember I said to Maya, you know, I promise you one thing, I will always do the best for you, always. Not for me, not for anybody else, just for you. And she was kissing me and saying, thank you so much.
Was she scared? Were you scared?
I was scared, she was scared.
Maya's home is now a villa at the Ban Kamlan Chai Aged Care Center in Chiang Mai, Thailand. Her family brought her here 2 years ago when it became apparent she needed 24-hour care.
Gehen wir die Zimmer anschauen?
Ja, ist gut.
But this is going on for 10 years and is slowly taking her apart from me, slowly. This is like, you know, saying goodbye in slow motion. And that is the hard thing about that. The disease now for us is worse. In the beginning it was bad for her, very bad for her, because she realized what happened. But now it's for us. It's very hard.
Ja, daheim. Ja, heiß, aber
Ja, heiß. Nicht nur warm, heiß.
Aber ja, ist gut wie den Trocken. Ja, das habe ich gehabt.
Hast du auch?
Walter says bringing Maya here was the best option for her. But back in Switzerland, not everyone agrees.
Yeah, well, I got even letters from school friends of my wife telling me I'm an idiot to bring her, to dispose her here.
To dispose her?
Yeah. Well, it's not nice, but these people don't know anything. They have never even looked for half an hour in the internet what really happened with Alzheimer patients. And of course, lots of people talk, and he brings her to Thailand, yeah, you know, get rid of her or whatever. The main reason was, where is the best place for Maya? And we all agreed, this place here, we couldn't find anything better. So I think she deserves to be in the best place in the world.
Heat and love for all of us.
Mary Inman is also a long way from home.
Where you came from?
Me,
Yeah.
I come from Wait a minute.
From England or from
America?
America?
Oh, I've been in India, America.
Yeah.
But and there's mother in America. There's that's it. You know, I'd rather go sit down now. It's just too hot.
Unsure of where she is and unable to remember where she's been, Mary is also destined to live out her days in northern Thailand, cared for 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Today, she's visiting a local butterfly park.
Yeah, it's beautiful, but then there's nothing you can do, is there? Oh, I know, I've got to get out of here. I want to go home.
Mary suffers from dementia. Her family brought her here from the UK almost 3 years ago.
We were worried about the gas fire. You know, we had to give keys to all the neighbours in case she got locked out of the house, which happened a few times.
Did she?
Yeah, she got locked out. She'd go out in the evenings with, you know, in a nightie a couple of times, and you know, luckily the neighbours found her and brought her back into the house. Give the money away. If you've got
Her son, Michael, and daughter-in-law, Emily, looked at care homes in the UK.
We did take her to a care home in Surrey to have a look. It was an extremely nice, high-end facility, but it was a facility. It was like a hospital ward. The rooms were very, very nice, but they were small, and there was a hospital beds. And,
Right. Hospital beds, yeah. And people
you know,
have
you've got
their...
the hospital signs up, the exit signs. You know, you have that feel and smell of detergent and...
unit institution.
And a couple of guests asked us if we could help them leave.
They feared Mary wouldn't survive in such a sterile environment. Then they heard about a care resort in Thailand. What was Mary's reaction when you brought up the subject of perhaps going to Thailand?
And of course, as soon as we mentioned it to her, you know, her face, and we showed her the pictures and the resort, and she you know, it's interesting. She was excited.
Mary might now be far away, but Michael makes sure she's not forgotten.
So this is the picture of the day that Granny arrived in England from the Middle East on the boat.
Born in Palestine, the daughter of a British soldier, Mary later met and married an army officer herself. She lived all over the world: Cyprus, Malaya, Singapore, Hong Kong. So she really had this international upbringing.
She did. Yeah, you know, I think that helped shape her. You know, she needed to be someone that could go into a new school, into a new community, and sort of integrate very quickly. You know, she's used to living in different parts of the world.
Today, I'm visiting Mary at her new home, Care Resort Chiang Mai. Her villa is next to one of the 2 swimming pools. Why don't you sit down?
No, you don't. You don't. Go on, go and get your bloody will.
Be careful, Mary.
Well, come on, come and sit on. He's only little. It's very small.
A photo book her family sent is filled with pages of a life that is lost to her. Who's that?
That is him. And that's my dad. Oh, look at that sweet face.
She has 4 dedicated carers who work rotating shifts around the clock, ensuring she is never left alone. I heard that you were a good dancer. Your son told me.
Have I got a son? I can't remember now to remember.
The carers they're remarkable. I mean, they're like her daughters. And I think she gets more comfort and pleasure from their presence than ours. I think we stress her out. She knows she's supposed to remember things about us, but she doesn't. And so that really stresses her.
So it's a 45-minute drive there and 1 hour drive back.
Peter Brown is a British hotelier who bought this holiday resort 11 years ago.
It was a pond before.
He transformed part of it into a dementia care facility after realizing how badly his mother was looked after back home in the UK.
I went to visit my mother in an English care resort, and within 15 minutes I'd called the ambulance, and she went to hospital for 3 months.
What happened?
She got cancer of the throat. She was dying in a care resort, and nobody was doing anything about it. I'm not having to go at that one place. It's the same philosophy everywhere else. Not enough care staff. After 6 o'clock at night, no care staff. You're on your own if you have trouble after 6 o'clock at night. I passionately believe that care helps people have a better life. It's not about how long you're going to live, it's how much you can enjoy the years you've got left. And if you take a disease like dementia, you've probably got at least 8 years to live. So it becomes quite important that those 8 years are quite enjoyable, not locked in a room, treated like a child.
Very good. Okay, this one, open your hands out to the side.
So I wanted to do things a little bit differently. I couldn't do what I want to do in the UK because of the cost of staffing. So Thailand has the advantage of being cheaper. It also has the advantage of the Asian respect for the elderly. It makes a big difference.
Okay, shall we get up? Just go.
6 weeks after moving into the same resort, it's already making a huge difference for Dusko Doder. A former journalist for the Washington Post, he reported from Moscow in the 1980s.
The summit is in many ways a great boost to Mr. Gorbachev, no matter what.
It was a time of huge historical upheaval. It's also where he met his wife and fellow journalist, Louise.
He's a lot older than I am, and he was the best journalist in Moscow. And he helped me on a lot of stories, introduced me to a lot of people. For me, it was very exciting because he opened whole new worlds for me, helping me understand Soviet Union, and that was sort of how we fell in love.
I remember watching the baby the first time.
Mm-hmm. That's right. You were looking very worried about how you were going to do it, right? Look how tiny he is. Look at you.
Probably.
After a life abroad, the couple settled near Washington, D.C., where they wrote books together. But everything changed about 2 years ago when Dusko suffered a massive heart attack and brain hemorrhage.
I was working, I was doing a remote job as an editor. I finally had to give that up. And the thing about caregiving is it happens very slowly. He lost abilities very slowly. So by the end of last year, I don't think I quite realized how much I was doing for him, but my son came up and took care of him for a few days, and he just said to me, "Mom, Dad should have been in assisted living months ago. You can't do this." And by that point, I was bathing him, dressing him.
When you looked at care homes, assisted living in the States, what did you find?
I couldn't see Dusko in there, and he did not want to go in there. He would not want to be sitting in a sitting room with other people staring at a television screen, which a lot of people do, and not simply because they don't, they're not able to do anything else. And just a light bulb went off my head. I thought, I'm going to Google assisted living overseas, which I did, and I found this resort. Sounded too good to be true, but I thought, well, I'll go and take a look. The minute I walked in here, I fell in love with it. It was just so beautiful.
More importantly, she says, moving to Thailand meant they could stay together, something that would have been impossible in the U.S.
We brought our dog, and I'm slowly starting to make friends here, so I can see that there's going to be a sort of a life where I can be with him a lot. I'm working on this book right now, so I spend much of my day writing, but always when he comes to lunch or dinner, I can join him, and I feel it's the right compromise for me, because I don't, yes, it's my life is still circumscribed by being here with him, but I have a lot of freedom to go out and do things and make new friends and to be a person to be a wife again.
Haley, good to see you.
Across town back at Maya's care home, it's also party night. It's less a resort and more a community for dementia patients and their families.
Remember Jenny, and now we have her niece are visiting us again.
Martin Woodley opened this center in 2003. His father had just taken his own life because he couldn't cope with his wife's dementia. There were few care options for his mother in their native Switzerland, so Martin brought her here to Chiang Mai. He found full-time carers for her and realized he could help others too.
This is an experiment, this is something new, but it's the way maybe we have to find new models of care, because the care system for elderly people is not working anymore. And it's going to be a big, big problem. Oh, look, that's the Franz. Oi, schon lange nicht gesehen.
He now has 14 patients with round-the-clock carers living in 10 different villas.
Guten Morgen, Ruth.
Residents meet up for meals. And outings are arranged for those who are able to go. Today, they are visiting an elephant park.
You see? Elephant. Yeah, okay. Maya, look.
Tell me about the caregivers that you've brought in here.
They are empathic to people with dementia disease. They love them, they respect them. And I mean, this wonderful thing in Thailand is the way they approach, they go closer to elderly people, but still with respect.
Respect is something Eileen Chubb says is often missing in nursing homes in the West. The former care worker in the UK now runs a non-profit that investigates abuse in homes across the country.
I don't blame people, like I say, for looking abroad. I don't blame them, but I do think it's a damning indictment on this country's care system.
Is this a private home?
They're a private home, yeah, and it's a big company with big profits.
For decades, her hidden camera has captured countless cases of unsanitary conditions and abuse in both public and private care homes in the UK.
People were left with bedsores to the bone, so when you walked onto the unit you could smell dead flesh. People were screaming in agony, people were pushed over, hit, spat out. They had their wedding rings stolen. We had one case where a lady had maggots in her wound, maggots. You know, people just being ignored, people just sitting sobbing and crying in a corner. But the family didn't see that.
Thailand may provide better care options than these UK homes, but Eileen still has reservations.
The number one qualification to be a carer, you have to have communication. And if you haven't got that, you know, even if you've got compassion, you can't translate it. You can't translate it to the person and show them how you can make them feel safe. And believe me, it's the best job in the whole world. But I'm sorry, if you can't communicate with somebody, then you can't care for them.
Maya?
But back in Thailand, Walter disagrees.
What do you think about her carers, these young women who look after her?
She has 3 beautiful women taking care of her. They speak all English, which is nice. I like to talk to them also. They can explain to me how Maya is doing. I think perfect team. She has a really good team here.
One of Maya's full-time carers is Lar Yodkum.
เหมือนเพราะว่าเราอยู่กับเขาตลอดเราแทบจะเหมือนกับเขาเป็นส่วนหนึ่งของครอบครัวแล้วค่ะบางทีเวลาเราไปไหนมาไหนเราก็ยังถามทุกสุขของเขาว่าเขาสบายดีไหม
Laura grew up in a small mountain village about 3 hours north of Chiang Mai. She makes the trip back here to see her own parents once or twice a year. Her husband, 2 sons, and many gifts in tow.
เลยเจาะเปิดฝากระโปรงรถแล้วก็เอาของขึ้นมาแล้ว
Bảo sao cái mẹ nó nọc tính gọc mà phê là đầy ăn nào cũng cả mày bỏ lụt bỏ cảm cái thằng cái nhạc tại cái khử cái tên nó giờ nhạc nó nọc được phương mẹ không khám
ลาเกิดที่นี่นะคะเกิดที่บ้านนอเลค่ะอยู่กับครอบครัวที่นี่ค่ะแล้วก็การเลี้ยงดูของพ่อแม่ก็เป็นแบบบ้านๆนะคะก็ไม่ได้มีอะไรพิเศษไม่ได้ฝากที่โรงเรียนพ่อแม่เลี้ยงดูเองค่ะโอเค
Laura's parents are still fit and healthy and living on their own, but she's already thinking about the future.
ถ้าวันใดวันหนึ่งพ่อแม่ไม่สามารถดูแลตัวเองได้ลาก็จะให้พ่อกับแม่อยู่ที่เชียงใหม่ด้วยแต่ว่าถามว่าลาจะแบ่งเวลากับพ่อแม่ยังไงถึงเวลานั้นลาคิดว่าเราก็ต้องมีการดูแลวางแผนอีกอย่างหนึ่งก็ได้ค่ะอาจจะเป็นแล้วก็ที่ทำงานของลาก็ไม่ได้ไปตลอด24ชั่วโมงเราก็มีเวลากลับบ้านดูแลเขาแต่ก็ไม่เคยคิดที่จะเอาไปไว้ที่บ้านพักคนชราหรือที่อื่นค่ะมองไปไหนมันหลงเนี่ย
หลงน้องหลงน้องไม่
มองไปทางมุมด้วย
มาจากหลังจากที่ปันวันก็เต้งก็รีนับดีที่เจาะเลย
ด้วยที่ว่าบ้านเราอะค่ะไม่มีทั้งหมู่บ้านนี้นะคะไม่มีเลยที่ไปฝากบ้านพักคนชราเลยค่ะเพราะว่าที่บ้านของลาคุณพ่อคุณแม่เขาจะเลี้ยงหลานไม่ใช่ว่าแก่เท่ามาแล้วไม่มีประโยชน์
Looking after your elders is a vital responsibility in Thai culture. But even here, things are changing. She says she won't rely on her sons.
Who will take care of you when you and your husband get older?
ถ้าแก่ขึ้นมาก็ไม่รู้เหมือนกันนะคะว่าใครจะดูแลแต่บางครั้งก็ด้วยที่เราทำงานทางนี้ก็เคยคิดเหมือนกันค่ะว่าถ้าวันใดวันหนึ่งเราแก่เฒ่าขึ้นมาลูกหลานจะดูแลเราไหมหรือว่าเขาจะหาบ้านพักคนชราให้กับเรา
But for now, Laura's concern is for Maya's present and future. At a memorial back in Chiang Mai, she joins other guests and carers to mourn residents she knew and cared for who have passed away.
สำหรับยายมายาถ้าถามว่าวันใดวันหนึ่งที่เขาต้องจากเราไปเรารู้สึกยังไงก็ทำใจลำบากนะคะเพราะว่าก็ผูกพันระดับหนึ่งเหมือนบางทีเราเคยเล่นเคยอยู่กับเขายังไงมายาอายุน้อยที่สุดในบริษัทนะคะลาถามบางทีก็รู้สึกเศร้าแทนเขาที่เขาอายุยังน้อยแล้วก็มีครอบครัวมีลูกสาวอีก3 คนทั้งที่ลูกสาวยังต้องการแม่อยู่แต่แม่ไม่สามารถที่จะให้คำปรึกษาอะไรกับลูกเลย
So Kate, this was where Granny lived. It's beautiful, isn't it? A beautiful old house. Imagine so much character, so much history. Can you imagine moving here when she was 8 years old?
Every family that sends a loved one to a care home has already grieved the loss, long before the decision is made.
I think so many people are struggling with this. So we're certainly not the first and certainly not the last that are trying to figure this out. It's a personal journey that you have to go through, and you have to think through what's right for the individual, and this was right for Mum.
I'm tired.
You're tired, but you're pretty happy here, huh?
Yeah.
Is that hard to come to terms with the fact that he's probably not going to leave? That this is.
No, we've discussed it, and he wouldn't want to go back. So this is it, and he's happy.
He's happy about that.
Yeah.
He's comfortable.
Yes.
This is for me. This is for me. This is for me. I open it for you, Maya. Because you don't like ice cream, so I eat, okay? And I will always take care of Maya, whatever happened. This is for me, this is normal. She would do the same thing for me. And yeah, she's an unbelievable person, and you should have met her 20 years ago. She was really, yeah, the best person I've ever met.
Ice cream, huh? So beautiful.
Nou, und heute? Was machen wir heute, Maya?
Ja.
Ja? Wollen wir ein laufen? Hä? Wollen wir ein laufen?
Ja, könnten wir.
Woher wollen wir laufen? Da vorne?
Ja, das schaut gut.